Hey, 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 everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Oh, I hope you all had a good couple of days where I didn't see you, but I saw some of you today. I portaled in. Um I kept seeing people being like, "He should portal in. Why isn't he portaling in anymore?" Never really had an opportunity until today. And so here I am. And there I was. But thanks for joining us in night court tonight, where obviously we're going to continue on with the trial of Jodi Arias, but we also have a lot of fun tonight too. We have a good quiz. We're gonna review the answers from last week. We'll get into the quiz for this week, and then we will review the standings so far. So, here's what I've gone on to do, and in terms of scoring, and I'll explain this again later, of course, because just in case. But I've done more than just like the top 5 getting points. Okay, we need to spread the board out a little bit. We need to make sure more people have opportunities, and so here's how it's going to work. The top 3 people get 10 points each. The next 2 get 9 points, the next 2 after that get 8 points, and then the next 7 get 7 points through 1 point, okay? So, top 3 is 10, next 2, so 4 and 5, 9 points, 6 and 7, 8 points, and then 7 through 14 are 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 point. And then that spreads things out a little bit more. I think it gives more people opportunities, because if I just do, like, the top 10 and do 10 through 1, there's less of a chance. So in this way, every single quiz we do, there's basically 14 people who can earn points, and so that's kind of how we're doing it. And then, of course, being the nerd that I am, being the nerd that I am, I was able to get you a little spreadsheet, and by spreadsheet I mean a chart, a pie chart of how many people got how many questions right, and so you can take a look at that and see where people were. Names aren't on there, just the numbers of how many people got all 10, how many people got 9, that kind of a thing. Now tonight, tonight's quiz is general knowledge. It's all over the board. I looked for science, I looked for some geography, I looked for some pop culture, I found some stuff that was international. I just tried to get a little bit of everything in there, and pack it in just to see what you all think. We're still playing around with this thing, right? And so I'm trying to figure out kind of where you all sit in the realm of quizzing and topics and stuff. And so we'll see how tonight goes. I think a lot of you did better than you thought you did. Oh, and for tonight's quiz, we have made it infinitely easier to fill out the form in terms of answers. So for tonight's quiz, the multiple choices, right? All of the answers, they each have a letter assigned to them, A, B, C, or D. So you don't have to type in the entire answer. You can just type in A, B, C, or D on the answer sheet, which you can find on our link tree by clicking on Night Court Trivia, and then it'll go to the form. Again, I don't collect anybody's personal stuff. All I ask for is your YouTube name and the date of the quiz, which would be September 1st. I can't believe it's September. And then you put your answers in the key. And that's it. You will see, if you are logged into Google on your phone or your computer, you'll see your email populate at the top. That doesn't come to me. I don't collect those. So don't worry. You don't have to refill it out or log out and then log back in. I don't see that stuff. All I see are timestamps, your YouTube screen name, the date that the quiz was given, and your answers. That's it. I don't need to know anything else. I don't want to know anything else. With great power comes great responsibility, and I always thought that was overused, so I don't want it. I don't want it. So yeah, welcome everybody. So we got the quizzing going on. We got Jodi happening. How was your week, everyone? I want to know how your week was. This week was wild, on my end, and I don't want. Yeah, I don't think people want my info either. You're just gonna end up getting a bunch of like bills, so you don't want it. Jeopardy would be fun, but very difficult. I would have to actually have people on screen to answer and such. Actually, not really, I guess. You guys could do the whole question thing. What is blank? Yeah, I do. I'm just not, eh. I also realized that I totally forgot. You know what, Terry, if you're in here, don't take offense to this, but I'm absolutely 100% going to use your mug for the gin that I have on this desk. Does that mean that I've reached a new level of insanity? Yes. Yes, it has. Um it's been crazy. With a capital CRAZY. CRAZY, crazy as a daisy. Um Taught me text to talk. Oh, yeah. That's a fun time. I love that. When they introduced it, that was a lot of fun, and then I realized my friends don't really wanna hear it that much. So, but here we are. Oh, Amos. I think well, I knew, but also, ugh, there is nothing you if you've been without power for, like, 4 days or more, 3 days or whatever, if you've been without power for 12 hours, you realize just how much you rely on it, and then just how much it seems like power companies don't really care. Not that they don't work hard, I just think it's not fast enough. Not fast enough. But I'm glad that you're okay. I really am glad that you're okay. I'm glad your family's okay. We are glad that you made it through, for sure. And hopefully, since you said till Thursday or Thursday to Tuesday, that means that your power's back. Oof. Yeah, definitely. Um, I know today's trial was apparently pretty rough. I'm glad that they've reached a verdict and that it's over. However, hopefully our coverage was good. That is a tough. That's a tough one. That's a, a tough one. Um, gonna have Linner with got to have Linner with Sydney and grandson. Aw, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, I wish I was a fly on the wall. Forget that. I wish I was a human at the table, hanging out with you both for sure. Let's see here. Power struggles with the kiddo. Um, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. We had a large storm. Well, Amos says thanks. We had a large storm roll through last night. Also, we were out of power for 9 hours. Nothing like 3 days, but still wasn't fun, especially in Arizona. You're not kidding. Um, with how hot it's been over there, good grief. Um, Sydney said, "I haven't left yet. I'm not dead yet." She's still there. Um, well, wow. Watch how you're offering here. Um, I'm excited. I think how many cups am I drinking out of at the moment? That's a really good question. I'll explain why I'm excited in a second. I have a thing for water. I have a cup for water. I have this thing which I haven't opened, which is an energy drink. I might have to crack into that tonight. Although drinking gin and an energy drink sounds like a really terrible idea. I have never gotten into the whole Red Bull and whatever. Um, and this lovely mug from Terry K is holding Cold Gin Tamkin. Yes. Ah, yes. I'm glad you liked it. It is one of my favorites. One of my favorites. I love it so much. Um, I teared up. I'm not even a huge. It's not that I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I'm just not like I know everything about them. But I even was tearing up in some spaces just watching it work. So, um, do I have a cast iron stomach? Yes. Yes, I do. Um, I'm excited because my co-host from Brew Crime, Mike, God, I love him so much. He and his wife traveled down to Austin and they went to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival. And it turns well, and the next festival next year is going to be in Denver. And we went ahead and we bought a podcast ticket or well, it was like a podcast with three hosts. And so I'm hoping, oh God, I'm hoping. My plan is to be there. My plan is to be there and to have a table and to promote Brew Crime and True Crime and Wine Time and 13th Juror and all those other things. So I'm really, really excited. So yeah, so next year I think it's July. Hold on. I want to give you the wrong information. I'm totally against that. So I'm not gonna make it up. Not gonna make it up. July 12th through the 14th in Denver, Colorado. So I'm really excited about that. You can go to truecrimepodcastfestival.com and take a look. I'm pretty sure eventually Mike and I will have some kind of code for buying tickets. I'll check with him on that right now, or not right now, but I'll check with him on that um, to see what happens. Oof, they've really there's a lot of podcasts coming so far already. Crime. We'll see if you know any of these. Crime Lines, True Crime Cases with Laney, Crime Lines and Consequences, Murder She Told, Navigating Advocacy, Most Wanted, Crime Over Cocktails, Missing Magnolias, Weird True Crime, Murders and Mimosas, Crime with My Coffee, Breakfast with Mom. Breakfast with Mom? Yeah, I think so. Vanished, Method and Madness, Texas Wine and True Crime, True Suspense, The Asian Madness Project, True Crime, Sinners and Saints, Malice and Mocktails, and then there's some paranormal ones as well. This is going to get just bigger. I mean, the festival just ended and there's already this many that are registered for next year. So, woof, good times. Yay! Hi, Suzanne. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here and thanks for chatting. Thank you. No, no. Yes. I asexually reproduce. No. I basically we do the three host things so that me and Mike have a ticket with the podcast, but then Mike's wife comes to that as well. So she'll be helping us out and she'll be there too, which is awesome. I really hope so. I think the plan is for me to be there with Mike for sure. I think Terry hopefully will be there. Brandi, I haven't talked to about it yet, but I'm sure she'd want to go. And I've never been to Denver, so I'm all about it. Oh, everybody, I'm so glad you're here. It's been a week and I needed y'all. The Wednesday game was not great. We tied, but we also let 2 goals go, which is sad. And then yesterday, Little Bruce Crime, older Little Bruce Crime came home and had a temperature, and that wasn't fun. And then Mrs. Bruce Crime picked that up, and that wasn't fun. And so Little Bruce Crime's doing better. Mrs. Bruce Crime's still working. She's a champ. She's a champ. Because I still had to go to work today. It doesn't end. Let's see. Hey, that sounds good. Wait, who's Blucifer? I feel like there's a story here, and I want to know about it. I want to know about it. Oh. Well, you know what? While we're waiting for more people to hop in, why don't we actually show the top 3? Except this time, I'm surprising you. I love surprising you guys. It's fun. Here we go. Yes, Dawson, you've got your throne. Ricky Watson, congratulations. You, sir. Patches with the beanbag. I'm very excited because we got number 4, Sydney. Sydney's got a pillow on the floor. And Jill, number 5. She's got herself one of those rolly chair things from Jim. Just make sure you watch your fingers roll over your fingers. Now, when I said that, I probably gave you a flashback. So, oh my goodness, look at that. I added 2 people just for fun. Because why not? I don't, it's just what it is. It is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. I do what I want. I think that's what Cartman once said. Um, I let's see. Here's what I also want to do tonight. We're gonna do a crowdsourced Chat GPT Mad Libs. And we're gonna do it right now to give some folks a little more time to get in. And if you have a presence on social media, feel free to share the stream. More people can come in, more people can play the quiz, a lot of things like that. So I'm very excited. Yes, I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah, the balance. There needs to be a little more power to bring the mic in, and I can turn it down. Actually, I have an idea for that, and I might do it while we're streaming the trial. All right, so I'm not actually going to hit the chat night chat ugh, chat GPT Mad Libs Night Court Edition button, but I do want to ask you a couple of things, and maybe you can help me create this story. All right. Um, a color. Give me a color. This is like apples to apples, where chances are I'm going to pick the funny one, and I won't get to pick everybody's, but who's got a color for me? We have I love the fact that there's like basically a warning. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. Pink chartreuse, pink, beige, red, orange, purple. Bells. All right, we're going with puce. Why did I pick puce? Because if you remember the old movie Santa Claus with Dudley Moore, there's an entire scene where they talk about candy or something they're creating, and they use the word puce. And I love it, and I use it all the time. All the time. Sir Elton is sleeping. He is on the bed asleep, and he can stay asleep because he was crazy today. All right. You can tell I'm making this up as I go. Sport. Give me a sport. Or the sound effect's not working. That's unfortunate. Hold on. Stop screen. Share screen. Can you hear him now? Tell me if you can hear him now. Curling. English football. Foosball. Sounds like a really great Friday night. Curling, cornhole, and log rolling. Still not working. Okay. Oh, you know why? I bet you it works now.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
I'd know if you'd think I'd realize this, but how long has it been since I started this? I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went. All right, I would like the Canadian one with the rooms. Me too. I would like, and I'm gonna pick more than one. A criminal. Give me a criminal. Oh, Nan. I'm so sorry to hear all of that. That's a lot to go through. If you need anything, please let me know. Let the mods know they can let me know. Reach out. We'll do what we can, but you're most assuredly in my thoughts, and I am vibing good vibes your way. Okay. Tommy. Yeah, you get a little singing me tonight, probably. Every now and again, you guys will bring up a question or a song, and I'll probably say it. Good ones. John Dillinger, and for some reason I read it as John Denver. Jabba the Hutt. The Hamburglar. Oh, this is gonna be good. Okay. And how about give me a temperature. Like, give me the temperature where you're at. Well, now I'm questioning everything. 80, 7, 4, 90. Good God. 79, 13 Celsius. I didn't come here to math, Lisa. Use freedom unit. I'm kidding. Don't use freedom units. We probably should move to Celsius just like the rest of the world. It makes more sense. Um, too damn hot. -2. Wait a second. What? Come again? All right. Um, let's see. What is the next thing that we can do? Um, give me a astrology sign. I mean, maybe I should ask more often so it's not above 100. Hey, it's mine. Just means I'm all kinds of all over the place. Seeing a lot of Aquarius, some Capricorn. Okay. Now, this is for all you. Give me the name of a musical. Maybe I'll make it write a song from the musical. A name of a musical. We went from Aquarius to hair. I love it. Oklahoma. Oh, Hamilton. Jesus. I think we should do. They should do a mashup of Hamilton and Jesus Christ Superstar. This is a really good collection of things. Dean, why did I think you might do that? And hi, Dean. Hello, sir. I saw some video of you riding horse, and it looked like a lot of fun. Well, then your kid is just right up my alley. Les Mis. Well, September birthday girls. We're gonna get to that. We'll get to that next. Don't let me forget. He's everywhere. Holy Lin-Manuel Miranda. I remember watching him in House. Ooh, Tommy's a good one too. Okay. Genre of music. I have no idea where this story is gonna go. Do 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 do. Phantom of the Opera. He's there, the Phantom of the Opera. Slow jazz. All right. Bagpipe. All right, now give me a genre of story, a genre like horror or something to that degree. A genre of story. Freestyle. Disco 70s rock. Fairy tales. Okay. Self-help. Oh God. You got me with that one. You got me with that one, Indy Cindy. Gregorian poetry, Mills and Boone, friend fiction, Vikings. All right. And then let's do one more thing. A give me a funny name. If you were to name a hurricane, the funniest thing you could think of as a name, what would you pick? What would be a hysterical name for a hurricane? Naughty, naughty. But also, that would be funny. A hurricane named Twister. Oh, my bar's real low, everybody. Windbag. Megan. Chaos. You know, that's the thing, right? They name hurricanes like so nicely. It's like Jill, Hurricane Jill's coming. Nobody takes that seriously. If you tell me that Hurricane Chaos is coming, the kids are in the car and I'm gone. Like, I'm gone. We need to name things a little tougher. Hurricane Bubblegum. Foot fetish. Jesus. I mean, but I don't know. It's kind of a cool. It's kind of a cool nickname though. Oh, jeez, Hurricane Rudy. I would literally move to Canada. I'm gonna mess you up. All right, I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna turn them into something while we're also streaming. So that is going to happen tonight as well. Thank you all for that. Hurricane Lookout. How many people, how many Americans, you say, look, it's Hurricane Lookout. Where? And then just smack with a stop sign. In my head, that's funny. So funny. All right. Well, that's some nice intro. We're gonna hop into the trial now, and then we will take 2 breaks. One will be for ChatGPT, one will be for trivia. And so we will do trivia. Let's say we're gonna do trivia at 9:45. So if you have any friends who are not here, let them know that trivia is gonna start at 9:45. And then I'm writing this down so I don't forget because ADHD is fun. And then ChatGPT is going to be at 10:15, which they might back to up to each other, but that's okay. Well, let's say 10:30 just in case. 10:30. All right. And now it's time for the trial.
Good morning, Miss LaViolette.
Good morning.
I want to start talking a little bit about some of the other things that you've done throughout your career, okay?
All right.
Have you ever worked with police before?
Yes, I started doing volunteer training with the police in 1980, first in the squad room with officers around the issue of restraining orders and protective orders that law had just gone into effect in 1980. And then into cadet academy, and then into advanced officer training. And I did that probably for at least about 10 years until the police department started doing all its own training in-house, and then I stopped doing that.
All right, and have you ever worked with large corporations?
Well, actually, I've
Can you hear
done
me
some
better over
training
it?
in corporations like the Housing
Am I
Authority
too loud?
and that sort of thing, but I am on the board, the advisory board of the Corporate Alliance to End Partner Violence.
What is that?
It's an organization that was formed by State Farm Insurance because back in the 90s, State Farm stopped insuring women who claimed they were battered women or where they knew they were battered women. They were counting it as a pre-existing condition. And so there was a lot of bad press that went
Just had
out
to add that
with State
makeup
Farm, and they thought they
game.
had to do something about that. And they did. They pulled together 100 people from around the country who were educators,
Me too.
business people, and people who worked in domestic violence. And we put together a plan to have corporations and other organizations and domestic violence folks work together to prevent violence. And so they're working with lots of organizations. Liz Claiborne is one of them. Mary Kay is one of them. They have people from the NFL, but State Farm has continued to do that. And I'm on the advisory board, which actually means I do pretty much nothing. My name's just on the advisory board.
But did you
Wow.
do something when it first started?
I did. I worked really hard for 3 days when we worked 12-hour days to put this plan together.
All
If
right.
you're
And
interested
what
in
time?
knowing
When
more
was
about
this?
her, in
It
the
was,
description, I have a link to her
it
about
was the mid-90s, but I'm
portion
not
of her
sure the
pla-
exact year.
page.
Okay. And when you're doing trainings and you're giving a speech, I would imagine, to a group of people, do you ever, in those trainings, I mean, it's obviously about a very serious topic, but do you ever use humor in your trainings?
I do use humor in my trainings.
Why is that?
I use humor in my trainings because it's such a serious topic and because it's hard for people to listen. And some of my trainings are all-day trainings, but even if they're 2-hour trainings, it helps people to take it in.
Humor,
It's easier to listen if you
hard
can
topics.
occasionally laugh and spend some of the tension that you have when you're hearing about things like this. So, for instance, I tend to say things kind of spontaneously, and I was asked once why people come into my program. Why would they?
It explains what she does with regard to training. It goes to her experience.
They ask why would people come into your program? And I said, well, for the most part, people don't come into my program because they think personal growth is far out and they can't wait to do it. That they come in either because their partners leave or threaten to leave and they really take that seriously, or God speaks to them through the SWAT team and they have a religious experience. And so people thought that was funny and they laughed at it. And I also said that I think it's a very hard thing for people to ask for help. That asking for help when you hurt people that you love is a very difficult thing. And so being able to sort of balance that out helps people to listen and helps people to take things in, I think.
All right. And in your experience, have you ever worked with the military?
I currently work with the military, but it's in a program called Heroes and Healthy Families. I do training. I've done training at 29 Palms, Camp Pendleton, and Barstow for the Marines, and for both the family services folks in the Marines and also for the Marines themselves. Heroes and Healthy Families is a really wonderful program that a judge in California, Judge Iles, and her court assistant, Leslie Howard, put together. And it's basically to expand the notion of not leaving your buddies behind to include mental health issues. And it's supported by the generals. It's a really wonderful program. And what they do is they expand the notion to suicide, homicide, child abuse, spouse abuse, substance abuse, and they have speakers on all of those topics. In fact, there's a YouTube video that I didn't put on there. I found out one of my friends called and said, "You're on YouTube, Alyce." I didn't know I was. And it was from Heroes and Healthy Families, and it's on PTSD and domestic violence. And so they use all of those videos, and they have people from the military speak, primarily from the military speak, and then I speak for those groups too. And they're usually 600 to 800 enlisted men, sergeants, usually enlisted men that come. And then there are retired military. We've had Congressional Medal of Honor winners speak about wishing they had gotten help and that sort of thing. So it's very moving.
You talked a little bit about when you first started in the late 70s and early 80s that domestic violence wasn't something that people really paid attention to. Is that right?
That's correct.
In the beginning, when you first started training and speaking about domestic violence and battered women, did you ever face any type of discrimination or type of name calling, being called things like a man hater or being accused of things like that?
Approach. May proceed.
Thank you. So, Ms. LaViolette, did you face that type of discrimination when you first started?
Yes, I did. And I think for the most part, people in the movement did. And part of it was justified, I think, because there was a lot of anger in the movement at that time to get things done and to try to see laws change and that sort of thing, because there weren't any laws at that time. But I think pretty quickly people will.
Sustained.
May we approach? All right, so during this discrimination, what kind of discrimination did you face?
People seeing us as angry, people seeing us as prejudiced, people seeing us as trying to push an issue that wasn't worth pushing, that sort of thing.
Okay, and ultimately, did you told us yesterday that you actually worked with men?
Yes, I do work with men.
And that's from the beginning up until present day, is that right?
That's from within the first 6 months.
Okay.
Yes.
And from the beginning until present day, have you worked with women as well?
Yes, I work with men and women.
All right. Since you started taking cases for forensic reasons, in court type cases, child custody and criminal cases, I think you told us that you've done about 16 to 18 for the defense and about 9 for the prosecution.
Yes.
In that time, have you ever been asked to represent somebody or be retained as an expert and turned a case down?
Yes, I have. I've turned down more than one case.
All right. And what are reasons why you turned down a case?
Objection, relevance.
Approach. Proceed.
Ms. LaViolette, when you've turned down cases, have you done that because you didn't have enough time to dedicate to that particular case?
Yes, in fact, I
Objection, the only sort of question.
So have you recently turned down a case?
turned down a case yesterday.
Okay. And is that because you don't have enough time to dedicate to it?
Objection has been answered.
Call the roll.
It's because I didn't have time to do a good job on a case, and I don't want to do a case unless I can do a good job on a case.
All right. And also, have you turned down cases because there's not enough information there for you to make a good analysis?
Yes, I've turned down cases where I didn't feel there was enough evidence to merit my participation in that case.
Okay. Now you've been, have you testified before
Yes,
in other cases?
I've testified about 18 times.
18 times, okay.
Yes.
And have you ever testified or worked on behalf of, been retained by people who were representing a man?
Yes,
So have you ever testified on behalf of a man?
I was actually sitting in court to testify and was not called, but I sat there for 6 hours, ready to testify.
Okay, and that for a client who was a man?
Yes,
Okay.
who was accused of domestic violence.
Oh, okay. So he was accused of domestic violence and you were on his side of the case.
Well, he was accused of domestic violence, and I was able to get him into a.
Objection, beyond the scope of the question. She's being asked whose side she represented.
Sustained.
Okay. Were you retained by his defense?
I was retained in a family law case. It wasn't
Not criminal.
It wasn't a criminal case.
Okay. And have you testified on when clients have been women?
Yes, I have.
All right. And obviously you're testifying in this case. Were you retained in this case?
Yes, I was.
And do you remember when you were retained?
I was, I think, first interviewed in September of 2011, and I began working on the case in October of 2011.
Did you say, when were you first interviewed? September, did you say?
I think the very end of September or the beginning of October.
Okay. In 2011?
Yes.
And are you being paid on this case?
Yes, I am.
And how much do you get paid an hour?
$250 an hour for research and $300 an hour for court appearance.
All right. I want to talk to you some more about some of the articles that you've created, or that you've written, I guess.
Yes.
Did you ever write an article in a journal that for child custody?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And in doing so, did you ever author something called a continuum of aggression and abuse?
Yes, I did.
And what is that?
The continuum of aggression and abuse is a way to look at domestic violence and aggression that can also occur in otherwise healthy families, isolated acts of aggression. And it looks at a range of behavior and a range of responses, and then looks at some exacerbating factors that can play into these cases. It's so that we don't look at domestic violence in kind of a one-dimensional way, but look at a real range. And part of that is to be able to look at how we intervene in these cases so that we're intervening more effectively.
All right. How did you go about making something like this?
Well, initially, I saw a continuum that was created by Michael Johnson in 1994. And he had a continuum that was anchored on one side with what was called common couple violence, and the other side with patriarchal terrorism, because what he was looking at were men who were in batterers intervention programs. And he was looking at what was called common couple violence, which was what he called most of domestic violence, which was hitting, pushing, slapping, grabbing, and what he called mild injury. And then looking at patriarchal terrorism, which was looking at not only extreme domestic violence, but the use of the system, whether that be a spiritual system, whether that be a criminal justice system, whether that be a child custody system, whether that's finances, but use of the system. And I liked that he did a continuum, but I thought it needed to have more points on the continuum than just two.
So how do you do that? If you have a continuum but you wanted to add more data to it or more information to it?
I wanted to add more breadth to it, but I also wanted to look at the fact that in healthy families, there can be isolated acts of aggression that happen in those families, and that we don't call everything domestic violence, that we look at a context that it's occurring in so that we're better able to describe it.
So is that part of what you did when you created the continuum?
Yes, I did that. And I also used, there was research done in the 90s by Amy Holdsworth Monroe and Gregory Stewart. And what they did was they took 10 pieces of research and they kind of put them together. And they took the similarities from each of those pieces of research and created what were called behavioral typologies, which are simply what are the similar behaviors in each of these groups of abusive people. And they were like family only, people who don't do anything outside of the family, and pretty much it's very hidden from everybody else, and moved to what was called borderline or dysphoric or overly controlled hostile, which are people that would act out more in public as well. And then they used antisocial. And antisocial were people that usually had some sort of experience in the criminal justice system, may have been arrested, may have a rap sheet, that sort of thing.
All right. Did you use that information to help create your continuum?
I used that, and I used my experience, and also I network regularly with people in the field. I'm in an organization, we meet monthly, and I talk to other people who are doing the work, and I talk to people around the country, and actually some people in other countries who are doing the work. And so I used all of that to put together my continuum.
All right. Judge, may I approach the witness? Ms. Violet, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 558. Do you recognize this?
Yes, that's my continuum.
All right. This is something you created?
Yes, yes.
All right. And would it help you when we talk about the continuum to be able to look at it and be able to talk about it and explain it to the jurors? To be able to look at it?
It could help, but I know it pretty well.
All right, would it help the jurors to be able to
It
understand?
would help the jurors, yeah.
All right, defense moves for exhibit number 558 in the evidence.
Objection, hearsay and learned treatise.
Approved. 558 is submitted.
Okay, Alyce, I'm going to show you. Sorry, Miss LaViolette. I will show you the continuum. Let's get it all on there. Okay. All right. All right, so what I want to do is I want you to be able to explain what this is, because just looking at it doesn't necessarily tell us what you've done here. So can we talk about what you have with the different columns
Sure.
and how it works, the columns versus.
Sure. It's actually a continuum and not just kind of linear. So there's range of behavior between the categories. But the first category, common couple, aggression, and I changed violence to aggression because that.
We're in the first column, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That would be considered an aberrant act, an unusual act in that family. It could be a family, for instance, when we see really difficult economic times like we are now, sometimes the stress that families are under, somebody winds up doing something that they don't normally do. It doesn't occur in the context of an abusive relationship. It is something where there's a balance of power and the couple is basically in a healthy relationship, but there's some kind of escalation, there's some kind of stress in the family, there's some kind of buildup, and an isolated act of aggression occurs. And it doesn't create fear in the other partner. It doesn't create apprehension in the other partner because it's an unusual act. There's genuine remorse for it because it's not the way either person believes things should be handled.
Ms. LaViolette, can I interrupt you? When you say an act of aggression, can you give us an example of what you're talking about?
Well, it could be slapping or hitting someone. It could be throwing something. It could be a verbal act of aggression that is abnormal in that situation. So it's an act of aggression that happens in an otherwise healthy family.
Okay.
And there's no, as I said, no power imbalance there. Age is also a factor because younger people, and I think, I remember when I was in my 20s, I was a lot different with the way I handled conflict in my relationship than I was when I'm in my 60s. So I think most of us can look at the change in the way we handle things over time, and that when we have, less life experience, less handling of conflict, that we have less experience in how we do it. So age can be a factor in this as well.
All right. And then you have things in that same column such as no injury.
Yes, in general, you would not see an injury.
All right. And could happen in any family. So is that exactly what it means?
Yes, it could happen. And what I mean by that is that most people, and some of what has happened over time is that we've counted any act, particularly of physical aggression, as domestic violence. And although I don't think that's a good way to handle things, what I also know in working with families and in knowing lots of people is that people can have an isolated act of aggression and not be an abusive person.
Okay. And the balance of power in a relationship, what does that mean?
It means that basically they have a friendship and they work things out together, that they respect and like each other. And so when there's a decision to be made in the family, they make the decisions together and they respect each other and like each other.
Okay. All right. And so you said this is a continuum. So does that mean that we kind of follow up here to high conflict?
Yeah, and high conflict is still not a domestic violence category in a sense, but it's a category of unhealthy relationship. It's a relationship where there may be a balance of power, but people are disrespectful and mistreat each other in a verbal way. There might be occasional acts of aggression, but they can go one way or the other. And they are not afraid of each other, because the development of apprehension tends to happen over time in a domestically violent relationship. In non-domestically violent relationships, you don't tend to see the development of apprehension over time.
All right. So, and what's anger is an issue? in the family?
Basically that this couple has, problems because they don't solve their problems. They don't come to a solution in conflict that really resolves things. And so what happens is, over time, they stop really appreciating each other, and they basically erode the friendship that they have with each other. They just stop liking each other. So it might be a tense family. It might be a family where they treat each other disrespectfully, even in front of other people, that sort of thing.
All right. And we move from remorse to may have remorse.
They may be sorry that they did this, and they may just both feel so negatively about each other that they don't have much remorse, depending on how much goodwill remains in that family.
All right. And the sporadic physical aggression. So in other words, does that mean that we're looking at more than one aberrant act?
Yes, and you could actually see more than one aberrant act in common couple, but you wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about a long-term relationship.
Okay.
So you could have more than one aberrant act. In high conflict, what makes the difference is that it goes back and forth. And if it were domestic violence, there would be, at least the more current research looks at that over time, if there's mutual aggression, that what winds up happening in a heterosexual relationship is that the male partner becomes over time more aggressive with an aggressive female partner.
Okay. And then can have emotional abuse?
Excuse me?
What is in the column you have can have emotional abuse?
Well, what I mean by that is that they are disrespectful and talk in a very disrespectful way to each other. And it's different than character assassination. Usually it's more name calling, but name calling at a lower level,
Okay.
would I say, and basic disrespect. And
Okay. But in this high conflict column, I notice at the bottom you still have balance of power in the relationship.
Yes, that neither party has more power than the other in the relationship, that they're not afraid of each other, that they both believe that they have power in the relationship, and they both might have power in the relationship, that out of balance power relationships tend to be more present in domestic violence relationships.
Okay. All right. So in this high conflict column, this is still not considered abusive?
Well, it could be. It's not healthy. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
It's not healthy. And there's controversy about whether that would be domestic violence. But for the most part, I would say it's more a mutually disrespectful relationship where the friendship has eroded and there's no goodwill or not much goodwill in that family.
All right. Okay. So let's move on to the third column you have for abuse. So tell us what this means.
Well, what I did was to look at a range of domestically violent relationships. And abusive relationships are at the lower level of that range. But when I say that, I don't necessarily mean in the lower level of fear. I mean in the lower level of behaviors and what happens. So when I'm talking about abusive relationships, I'm looking at relationships where there's physical aggression, but there's usually longer periods of time between physically aggressive episodes. So there's a period of recovery. You could have 6 months, a year, whatever between episodes. The episodes tend to be kind of short-lived. If they're yelling at each other, it tends to be not a long period of time where they're yelling at each other, and they tend to do more cussing or generic kinds of name calling than they do character assassination. They're not character assassinating each other.
Miss LaViolette, can you explain to us the difference between name calling and character assassination?
Yeah, name calling, is it okay to swear? I mean, is it okay to say the names? I don't know.
Judge, is that okay? Yes. Okay.
Calling somebody a bitch, calling somebody a bastard would be more name calling, cussing at somebody. Character assassination goes to tearing apart the character of the person, calling them a whore, calling them a slut, telling them they're ugly, telling them they're fat, telling them that nobody likes them or cares about them, that they're not worth anything. It's tearing apart the character of the person, which when I work with battered women, they say is some of the more difficult, and I've worked with some male victims as well, few, but it's the thing that really rips at their hearts. It's the tearing apart of who they are as a person.
Okay. And so when in this third column under abuse, we see name calling, but not character assassination yet.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And now for something completely different.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's time for our favorite thing that we just came up with last week. Night Court Quiz Party, September 1st edition. I am going to remove the logo. And I'm also going to move myself because I don't want to block anything. So let's just make me a little smaller. Just not that important. Okay. All right. Yes, it's really important. I had to get your attention. All right. Okay, so here are the rules. The rules are no going on to Google and looking up the answers. This is an honor code system. In addition, the way that you enter your answers is by going to our link tree and navigating down to the Night Court Quiz Party, clicking on it, and pring, quiz entry form. You will enter your YouTube screen name. You will enter the date, September 1st. And then you will enter your answers here. You do not have to access the form while this is going on. You can grab a sheet of paper. You can write in your notes app on your phone, and you can transfer them over later. This quiz is active until next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is when it'll close, so I will no longer take answers at that point. That still doesn't mean go search for the answers. Be kind to your other 13th jurors who are doing it right. And so you have that time. So it's not necessarily you have to enter them in right now and hit go. Okay. But that is what that looks like. So that's where you'll enter your answers. And I'm very excited to do this one. Yes, we will definitely keep posting this up as well. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the answers for last week, shall we? And I'm still blocking it. Would you look at that? Yeah, I'll read over it. All right. So the first question was, which Beatles song helped inspire Charles Manson's delusions about a race war? The answer was Helter Skelter. Number 2, who operated an elaborate murder castle during the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago? H.H. Holmes. If you've never heard of that story, start on Wikipedia and be scared. It's creepy. Number 3, which of the following killers eventually turned themselves in? Edmund Kemper. Number 4, what was the name of John Gacy's clown alter ego? Pogo, which happens to be scarier than any other name I could think of. Number 5, what did the son of Sam claim was giving him orders to kill? His neighbor's dog. Number 6, who helped authorities profile the Green River Killer while in prison? Ted Bundy. Number 7, true or false? One of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims escaped but was returned to him by police. The answer is true. Number 8, what year was the first woman selected for jury duty in the United States? That year was 1870. Number 9, what decade did Robert Ressler popularize the term serial killer while in the FBI's behavioral science unit? It was the 1970s. Number 10, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder of her mother Dee Dee, was a victim of what psychological disorder? Factitious disorder imposed on another, FDIA. Another word for that, another phrase that it used to be was Munchausen's by proxy. I believe they're using FDIA now. All right. Who is ready for the new one? That's the link right there. If yep, that's the link right there, withkoji.com / at 13th Juror Live. All right. Let's move on. We're going to get started with the new one. I'll give you the standings at the very end. So, question number 1. How many... I need to move myself. Question number 1. How many minutes are in a year? 100,000. 525,600. C, 842,000. Or D, 1 million. Please do not write the answers in the chat. So again, how many minutes are in a year? A, 100,000. B, 525,600. C, 842,000. Or D, 1 million. We'll go through every question one more time quickly at the very end. And Shireen's asking for music. All right. Next one. Guitarist Brian May is also an expert in what scientific field? A, microbiology. B, music composition. C, astrophysics. Or D, underwater basket weaving. Again, Queen guitarist Brian May is also an expert in what scientific field? A, microbiology. B, music composition. C, astrophysics. Or D, underwater basket weaving. Bells, yes, you can just put the letter in the form. You don't have to write the whole thing out. Just put the letter. It's easier that way for you guys. It'll be easier for me too. So, yes, just the letter's fine. All right. Next up. In what country would you find Mount Kilimanjaro? A, Tanzania. B, Kenya. C, Uganda. Or D, Madagascar. What is it with quizzes that make my voice just... Again, in what country would you find Mount Kilimanjaro? A, Tanzania. B, Kenya. C, Uganda. Or D, Madagascar. I'm realizing I need to make these answers a little larger on the screen. Sorry, everybody. I'll fix it for next week. All right, next question. What is a group of crows called? A, a legion. B, an army. C, a click-cluck. Or D, a murder. What is a group of crows called? Legion, army, click-cluck, or murder? All right, next up. Next question. How many hearts does an octopus have? A, 3. B, 5. C, 2. Or D, 1. How many hearts does an octopus have? 3, 5, 2, or 1? Adam, I don't know what a group of bros is called, but I'm sure you're about to tell me. Group of bros is called a tailgate. All right. Next question. Where is Disney's European theme park located? A. Brussels, Germany. B. Paris, France. C. Milan, Italy. Trouble. Or D. Dublin, Ireland. Again, where is Disney's European theme park located? Brussels, Germany. Paris, France. Milan, Italy. Or Dublin, Ireland. No answers in the chat. I do like the idea of, yeah. All right, next. Who was the first Disney princess? A. Cinderella. B. Aurora. C. Snow White. Or D. Sleeping Beauty. Who was that first Disney princess? Cinderella, Aurora, Snow White, or Sleeping Beauty? The hard part about this is reading it in a way that there is no inflection or change in my tone during the answer. Because the brain wants to tell you. Angie in the movies. Good question. All right. What is the symbol for potassium? A. P. B. P-O. C. K. Or D. P-M. What is the symbol for potassium? P. P-O. K. Or P-M. I don't know if I classify it. I mean, it is science-ish. All right. Next one. SpongeBob SquarePants debuted in which year? A. 1999. B. 2006. C. 1995, or that's D, 2010. SpongeBob SquarePants debuted in which year? A. 1999, B. 2006, C. 1995, or D. 2010. All right, next up. No answers in the chats. What is your body's largest organ? Last question. A. Brain. B. Skin. C. Heart. D. You know. Oh, I make myself laugh. It is super inappropriate. What is your body's largest organ? A. Brain. B. Skin. C. Heart. Or D. You know. It's. I gave you a freebie on that one. All right. So let's go back through these one more time, real fast. We'll do a speed round. How many minutes are in a year? 100,000, 525,600, 842,000, or 1 million? Queen guitarist Brian May is also an expert in what scientific field? A. Microbiology. B. Music composition. C. Astrophysics. D. Underwater basket fishing. Hey Joe, let's go. Thank you for clarifying. Oops. I didn't come here to geography. I don't take the quizzes, I just give them. You think I'd figure that one out? Oops. All right. In what country would you find Mount Kilimanjaro? A, Tanzania, B, Kenya, C, Uganda, or D, Madagascar? What is a group of crows called? A, Legion, B, Army, C, Click Cluck, or D, Murder? How many hearts does an octopus have? A, 3, B, 5, C, 2, or D, 1? Where is Disney's European theme park located? A, Brussels, Belgium. B, Paris, France. C, Milan, Italy. Or D, Dublin, Ireland. Who was the first Disney princess? A, Cinderella. B, Aurora. C, Snow White. Or D, Sleeping Beauty. What is the symbol for potassium? A, P. B, PO. C, K. D, PM. SpongeBob SquarePants debuted in which year? A, 1999. B, 2006. C, 1995. Or D, 2010. I'm ready! Sorry, that wasn't your ear hole. I'm realizing that. I'm not the only one talking. Okay. What is your body's largest organ? A, brain. B, skin. C, heart. Or D, you know. I make myself laugh. All right. So let's go over the leaderboard here. So last week we had well, you can see the percentages here. 5.7% of folks got all 10 right. 28.6% got 9. Then we had 5.7% at 8, 14% at 7, almost 9% at 6, 22.9% at 5, 8.6% at 4, and then we had 2.9 and 2.9 at 3 and 2. Our leaderboard is, and I'm going to, nope, sure not. I'm just going to make myself smaller. And I'm right here now. All right, here's our leaderboard. And we go from 1st to 14th. Jodi Allgood, then Lisa Wilmot, Ollie, Minnesota Nice, Candace Hoff, City Kitty 865, Jaded Wonder, Alyssa K, Teresa, Kinners 42, Kita, Angie Burr, Hippie Chicky Chick, and Kelly 562-006. 8675309. So there's your leaderboard after last week's round. We'll see what happens when the quiz closes on Wednesday, and I tally up all of your answers and your points. Go team. All right, everybody.
And then verbal abuse, but not psychological. What's the difference?
Well, in a way, it's splitting hairs. And what I mean is that kind of name calling or cussing, that sort of thing. I remember one of the men that I worked with who came in who said, I came home to my family and nobody was there. And they left me a note to call you. And I don't understand because I've never done anything physically abusive to anybody in my family. And I said, well, what do you do when you get upset? What do you do when you get angry? And he said, well, I yell. And I said, what kinds of things do you yell? He said, well, I scream and I curse and I, call them
40.
Names and stuff. And I said, well, what else do you do when you're angry? I said, do you ever hit things or throw things? He said, yeah, I punch holes in the wall sometimes and I hit things. But I've never hit anybody in my family. And it took a while for him to understand that the family was sort of living, walking on eggshells about wondering what would happen when he got angry. What's going to happen when he gets angry? What's he going to do and how far is he going to go? And, what they said was, or what he said, well, they should know I wouldn't do this, but they don't know that. They're not sure how far it's going to go. So they live in sort of that walking on eggshells apprehension.
Okay. And incidentally, part of the treatment that you do
Good
with
night.
men's groups, is that working with somebody to understand how their actions affect other people?
Absolutely. We do a lot with empathy in our groups. And we actually look, because most of the men that we work with have come from families where they've been exposed to domestic violence or exposed to violence and abuse. And so I think they're adult victims of childhood abuse myself. And so we're doing, like, one of the things that I might do with them is to ask them to think about a time in their lives where they felt powerless or afraid prior to the age of 10, because they can begin to look back at their childhoods and then to think about what the situation was, to talk about the situation, to talk about who they had that they could talk to about it. Did they have a safe adult that they could talk to, or a safe family member that they could talk to, and who they avoided telling, and who they blamed, because a lot of people blame themselves for being victimized. And then what was the situation ever resolved? Because if it wasn't resolved and there wasn't a way to resolve it, it's hard to get over it. And then how they feel when they talk about it now. Because part of that is looking at how long the effects of victimization are on people, so that they can look back to 10 and they can still feel things when they're 40 years old or 30 years old or 50 years old or 60 years old. They still have feelings about that. And it helps them to understand what it would be like for their family members, what it must be like for them to feel the way they felt. Because once you understand how you feel, it's easier to understand how someone else feels.
All right. And in this column, back to your column with abuse, we still have may be remorseful.
Yeah, actually, they tend to be remorseful. They tend to still be sorry because they have less entrenched belief systems that violence or aggression is a good way to handle things. When you start looking at battering and terrorism, you're looking at people who have a belief system that it's okay or that it's appropriate to solve problems with violence or aggression. And the other thing I would just say with the threats,
The threats of abandonment?
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people talk about people threatening to kill, threatening a lot of things. But when people are more abusive, they tend to threaten abandonment. They tend to threaten to leave the other person, to maybe, if there are children, to take kids or to take money, that sort of thing. But they tend not to threaten to harm or kill.
Okay. And the last one, aggression takes place without witnesses.
For the most part, in these relationships, and this would kind of compare with Holdsworth, Monroe, and Stewart's category of family only, they occur within the family. And these people, many of them are very well thought of in the community. They're very well appreciated because it would surprise anybody to think that this person was acting out at all. It would throw people off. And so they're more concerned with how they appear to other people. So there is, one of the things about working with folks when they come in and they need to be in a program, where they feel that they need to be in a program, is that they can be pretty motivated to change because they don't want people to know, they don't want to lose their jobs, that sort of thing.
All right. And so then we would move on next to the battering column.
Right.
All right. And what's the change in that? What do we see?
Generally more frequent physical violence in that category, generally more controlling behaviors. Jealousy is a controlling behavior where people get jealous and they don't want the other person to spend time with. For instance, if it's a male-female relationship, if the male were the victim, the female doesn't want him to spend time with other women, or if it's a male perpetrator, doesn't want the victim to spend time, even with family members, because oftentimes they're coming from a place, I sort of think of it as deprivation mentality, that there's not enough love to go around, and that if you give it to this person, then I don't have any of it. So that kind of thing.
Is that what the perpetrator is thinking?
That's what where the perpetrator would be coming from.
Okay.
So there's generally more frequent physical abuse. There's generally more frequent verbal abuse.
And when you speak of frequent, can you give us an idea? What do you mean by frequent? I mean, you'd said earlier that the times between physical aggression could be up 6 months to a year when you were talking about, I think, high conflict. When I was talking about abuse, actually. Oh, abuse, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. So when you're talking about more frequent, what do you see?
It's different because one of the things is when you're looking at verbal and emotional abuse, it tends to occur much more frequently. So it can occur weekly, it can occur monthly, because the results of having somebody that you love say something really egregious to you sticks with you. It feels bad and it stays with you for a while. But it can escalate, and it depends on the relationship. Every relationship's different, and the characteristics in that relationship are different. But you can have cases where they'll tell you it's happening almost daily. That's more unusual. But it doesn't have to happen that frequently to feel like it's happening that frequently. I think of people who are depressed, and I use this analogy sometimes, that depression is called the common cold of mental illness because most people have had a depressed period of time. And if you're depressed, you can have good days during that period of time. But if somebody asked you how you felt, you'd say, I was depressed. Well, that's the same kind of, it's the establishment of a mood in a relationship. So it doesn't have to happen every day to create a mood. So it could happen every 2 months. It really depends on the nature of what's being said, the nature of what's being done, and how the person receives that.
So is what you're telling us that there's no magical number of frequency before you can determine whether or not a relationship is abusive?
No, there's no magical number.
Okay. All right. And so, okay, back to battering. You were talking about what we see, that we see more frequent type of physical aggression. What else do we see?
You can see more public physical
Y'all are a
aggression.
bunch of smarties.
I've had
looking at your
people,
answers.
there was a man in my group, we called him the drive-by fruiter because he carried literally raw fruit in his car. And when he had road rage, he would peg people. We've had
She stole that from Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh, it was drive-by fruiting.
people that pull people off the freeway, run them off the road. We have people that walk through the mall and they don't like the way you look at them, and they wind up acting out.
And how is that related to domestic violence, though, when you're talking about people acting out on aggression to other people that are not in their own family?
Well, they're also acting out to people in their own family.
Okay.
But the other way of looking at that is vicarious trauma. So if I'm in relationship with somebody who's doing things to other people that are violent, it affects how I feel about my own safety. So if I, for instance, see my partner kick the side of a car in, which is an actual case, then I wonder what that partner's going to do to me, even if they haven't done something to me at that point.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you see, this type of aggression. What else do you see?
You tend to see more controlling kinds of behaviors. That might be calling during the day to see if you're at work, or texting you a lot so that I know where you are. Could include those kinds of things. And you tend to see a change in the name calling. It tends to sort of slide into the character assassination, into calling the person names, tearing their character apart. There also generally is sexual abuse that does not have to be, it does not have to be forceful, but it has to be coercive psychologically or some way. In other words, the person feels like they should participate in it. That could be an example.
Some angry member of the kitchen
the
staff.
victim
Did
of
you
the
not
relationship
teach them?
would have to feel like they
terrorists around that way.
Yeah.
The
submit
run
to
by
some type of
fruity.
sexual acts?
Yeah, when they really may or may not want to, but they may feel like they need to to keep the relationship intact. That can be part of it.
You talked about controlling and calling somebody or texting somebody throughout the day or a couple times to see where they are. What about looking at people's, what we have now these days, Facebook and MySpace and Twitter accounts, looking them up and seeing what they're up to?
See, that's absolutely true. I don't think that way because it's not my generation and I don't tweet or text or anything, but I've got clients where that's part of what's happening. GPS stalking, we've seen more of, but that tends to be
I'll add the number to the slides
more
next
controlling
time.
behaviors tend to be in terrorism,
Sorry about
but
that.
they also can be in battering, where you're looking at people using different ways to control people. So emails, texts, tweets. We've had people GPS stalk their, partners, that kind of thing.
All right. And jealousy, you talked a little bit, you started to talk about jealousy. What is it about jealousy? You said it's a controlling behavior. How is jealousy controlling?
Well, if you're dealing with someone who's jealous, what happens is they let you know in lots of ways that they are. And they don't have to be in obvious ways like saying, I don't want you to see so-and-so. They can be in ways that I give you the silent treatment when you come home after you spend time with friends and I don't talk to you for a while. Or I ask you a lot of questions. I interrogate you. And I'm talking about people I've actually worked with. These are things that they've said that they've done. Where they are texting the person during lunch so that they know where they are, so that they're not really leaving their desk, or they're calling them at home and saying, I hope you're home so I can call you. They can be in subtle, less obvious ways.
Okay. And with, when you talk about jealousy, is it always jealousy of other people? So if if we're talking about a man and a woman, and the man is saying to the woman, you're saying that the man is jealous. You talked about being interrogated or questioned about when the woman goes out with her friends. How is that jealousy when we're talking about maybe if she's going out with girlfriends?
That comes from, I think, the place of that deprivation, which is there's not enough love to go around. So if you're spending time with other people, you're taking it away from me, as opposed to you can spend time with other people and it actually can enhance our relationship. It's more, you're taking it away from me. And you're enjoying these things with other people, so it becomes threatening. Just that you're enjoying time with other people can be threatening.
Okay, threatening to the abusive perpetrator. Okay. And you say putting down friends and family. What does that mean?
It can be talking about put downs of other people's, their family and friends, like saying your family's gets in our way, they butt in, your family's stupid, your family, and it's usually not that obvious, by the way, at the beginning. People usually work up to this. It doesn't start there. But the whole notion of saying, your friend so-and-so said something about you. It can be something like that. Or I wonder if so-and-so is a good friend because they did this or they did that. Or your family's hardly ever there for you. Or, those kind of things where you sort of create a wedge between the person and their family, or you create a way of looking at the family, that sort of thing.
Okay. So it's not always, you're saying that it doesn't always start as calling the family members' names necessarily?
No. It usually, when you're looking at domestic violence, there's an escalation over time in intensity and frequency. So you don't see things generally real drastically at first. Occasionally, you'll see a very drastic episode. I remember one of the very first women at the battered women's shelter, and she was in the relationship for a while, but the first physical act was so intense that she said she saw stars, and she said, I knew that he could always do that. So he never had to do anything that serious again because I knew it was possible. For people who haven't had that kind of serious thing done.
Afterwards?
they anticipate that something more
What,
serious could
what
happen.
date are you
Okay. What about
thinking of?
destruction of property? Is that something you see more of in the battering column then?
Destruction of property happens in abuse and in battering, but it tends to be more extensive as you go across the continuum. So where you might see somebody punch a hole in the wall or kick a piece of furniture or, something like that in an abusive situation, as you move across the continuum, you can see something more extreme.
Of course.
One of the men in my group
I have
destroyed
pins and
his
needles that I'm sitting on.
wife's $25,000 crystal collection. That took some time. So what you see is the energy, the rage that goes over time that can create that can be pretty terrifying. That can create that kind of sort of physical rant, if you will.
And part of destroying that property is, in that particular example, is that because it's directed to something that is hers.
That can happen, and it can happen to something that isn't particularly important to the person either. But absolutely, you see more direction. I remember one of the fellows ripped, his wife was a gardener, and ripped all the plants out of, and I worked with a woman who's, they were both professional people, and he had very expensive suits, and she cut his suits up so that there's this destruction of something that is of value. You see more of that as you move across the continuum.
Okay. And what does self-absorbed, how does that refer to in this column?
Well, it's sort of looking at the world as it affects me. It's not being able to empathize very much. So I see the world as it affects me. So if I hurt you, what I'm concerned about is that you'll leave and that I'll be without you, as opposed to that you're hurt.
Okay. And we see the sexual abuse again. Is that the same?
The sexual abuse, it can be more forceful. It can be more forceful. It doesn't have to be, but it can be more physically forceful.
Okay. And what do you mean by change in victim's personality?
When you go further across the continuum, what you see is that the victim can have a personality before they start. They can be friendly, they can be more self-confident, they can be even, gregarious. They can be the person that plans activities for the friends. And then over time, what happens is they become more withdrawn, they become less self-confident, they become more self-blaming, their self-esteem goes down. So you see a real change. So you can see somebody who's totally gregarious become withdrawn and isolated. You see, that kind of a change.
And timeline, and when we're talking about time, is this something that you're going to see in 2 months, or what kind of time are you talking about?
It really depends on what happens in the relationship. You can't just give that a timeline either, but it usually occurs over a period of time. I would say, I can't even say. I was trying to say, but I really can't say what that timeline is. But it doesn't, depending on what the other person does.
She's honest about it.
And depending on where the victim is when they get in the relationship and how vulnerable they are when they get in the relationship, they can be
Dr. Samuel set the bar real low
to intimidate and, change their personality. That can happen more quickly, but it takes a period of time for that to happen. And it takes a context for it to happen.
Okay, so is it more like there's no magic number again to be able to discuss timelines when you can expect to see certain things on this continuum?
Camera view.
No, there's no magic number that I've ever seen or known about or had anybody in the field talk about ever. A magic number with physical abuse or emotional abuse.
Okay. All right, and then at the end you say more generally violent.
And that's what I meant by that they can be violent in the outside. So there can be a lot of road rage that takes off the form of, pulling somebody off the freeway. It can be bar fights. It can be more violence that they're not so concerned about being public about.
Okay, but the perpetrator isn't concerned.
Right.
Okay. All right, and into the last column, we see with terrorism. What do you mean by terrorism? There's battering, we have abuse, battering, and terrorism.
Well, as you go across the continuum, I mean, one of the reasons I took out patriarchal terrorism that Johnson had was in case we were dealing with female perpetrators that were doing some of these things, then we would be able to also look at female perpetrators as well. And gay lesbian relationships. In terrorism, as you move across the continuum, things just get more extreme. So you see usually more intensity in what's happening. And I have stalking up there. And when I'm talking about abuse and lower end battering, I talk about normal stalking. And people wonder what normal stalking is. But what I mean by normal stalking is
sleeping under a Christmas tree.
when a relationship ends, most people aren't ready to have, there's usually one person who isn't ready to have it end. And that's for any of us. Most of us have had relationships where they ended before we were ready to have them end. We've had at least one. And you're not quite ready to have it end. So you might call the other person just to hear their little voice on the answer machine, or you might drive by their house or something to see if they're there. You might show up somewhere where you think they are. And people who are domestically abusive or live in domestically abusive relationships don't believe each other. If I'm perpetrating domestic violence, I don't believe you're going to leave me, and you don't believe I'm going to stop hurting you. So there's a period of time where that person is used to pushing and getting what they want. And they push and they get what they want. So that's what happens. They continue to do that. So what I've seen, and most of us talk about, is that violating protective orders is very common in domestically abusive relationships because they don't believe that you really mean it. And so they're going to keep pushing to see if, that changes. And
now for something completely different.
Well, all created this monster. So here it is. The Great Spring Break Escapade. It was a sunny spring morning when Tommy, OJ, Ted, Jabba the Hutt, and the Hamburglar decided to embark on a spring break vacation like no other. With their bags packed full of sunscreen, swimsuits, and the spirit of adventure, they set off for a destination they had only heard of in legends, the mystical island of Pustopia. Little did they know that their journey would be filled with hilarity, mispronunciations, and unexpected challenges. A little on the nose. As the friends boarded the plane, Tommy, who had been tasked with researching their destination, proudly declared, "Get ready, everyone. We're off to the colorful island of Pustopia." Wait, Pusta what? OJ squinted at the itinerary. Pukia, Tommy repeated confidently, ignoring the puzzled looks from his friends. He was convinced it was pronounced that way. Upon arrival in Pustopia, they were welcomed by a strange sight, the island's vibrant foliage. Why does ChatGPT use foliage? And I want to say foliage. It doesn't matter. Foliage was indeed puce-colored, not puke-colored, as Tommy had suggested. The friends couldn't help but chuckle at the mix-up. Ted, the ever-optimistic member of the group, saw an opportunity. Well, let's embrace the puce. I mean, the beauty of Pustopia, shall we? With that, they explored the island, stumbling upon a series of signs promoting the Pustopian Olympics, featuring curling, cornhole, and log rolling. The friends, fueled by their adventurous spirit and a few and a few, too many puce-colored cocktails, decided to enter the trials. First up was curling. They slipped and slid on the ice, crashing into each other and sending stones careening in all directions. The spectators laughed so hard that they nearly puked. Not puce, as Tommy had previously thought. Next was cornhole. OJ's orange throwing skills surprisingly came in handy as they aimed for the ever-moving cornhole boards. Ted's knitted sweaters even served as unintentional shields, making them the talk of the competition. By the way, I didn't put Ted Bundy in, I just said Ted. And I love how it still equates Ted with sweaters. Just saying. Finally, they attempted log rolling, where the friends stumbled and tumbled into the water more times than they could count. By the end of the trials, they had become the comedic darlings of the Pustopian Olympics. But their adventures took an unexpected turn when they unwittingly trespassed into the island's restricted zone and were promptly arrested. The local authorities threw them into a small, puce-colored jail cell, leaving the friends to ponder their next move. Hours passed, and they were growing restless. It was then that Tommy, in his infinite wisdom, exclaimed, "I've got it! We'll take the plane we saw earlier and skydive our way out of here." The others exchanged skeptical glances, but had little choice. They managed to overpower the guards, steal the plane, and fly high into the Pustopian sky. They prepared to skydive. They looked at each other with a mix of excitement and fear. Jabba the Hutt hesitated, clutching his parachute tightly. "I hope this chute opens," he exclaimed as he leapt from the plane. I think we have a translator on. I think it sounded like... But as luck would have it, one of their chutes failed to open. As luck would have it, panic set in. But just as they thought their fate was sealed, Ted and OJ managed to grab onto the chute of another skydiver. They rode down on top of their fellow skydiver chute, letting out a collective sigh of relief. But their adventure was far from over. As they landed, they discovered they had unwittingly parachuted right into the path of a raging hurricane named Twister. The friends were tossed and turned in the turbulent winds, clinging to each other for dear life. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and rain pelted them from all directions. Amidst the chaos, they couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of their situation. Tommy, OJ, Ted, Jabba the Hutt, and the Hamburglar were once again on an adventure like no other, defying gravity and escaping from jail, all while riding out a hurricane named Twister. As they tumbled through the storm, they clung to the bonds of friendship that had brought them together in the first place, knowing that no matter how outrageous the situation, they would face it together. Come what may. Where did it stop? That's not where the story stops. Why did my copy and paste stop? There's more. Don't worry. I don't think you were worried, actually. Hold on. Hold on. As our adventurous group of Tommy, OJ, Ted, Jabba the Hutt, and the Hamburglar soared through the... Nope. Already did that. Hold on. When they landed, they found out that they were in a charming village known as Serenica. Here, the skies were a calming blue, and the locals indulged in traditional pastimes like picnics and flower arranging rather than the peculiar sports they'd left behind. In Serenica, Tommy, OJ, Ted, Jabba, and Hamburglar decided to blend in with the locals while they hatched their next adventure. Tommy became the village's storyteller, entertaining children with tales of their daring escapes from Pustopia. OJ took up gardening and became the town's expert on growing oranges, making him the go-to source for fresh OJ. ChatGPT's got some jokes. Ted embraced the serenity of Serenica by joining the local knitting circle, where he became famous for his eccentrically patterned sweaters. Jabba the Hutt, now a respected chef, opened a charming burger joint that served delicious hamburgers without any fiery fuego sauce. And as for the Hamburglar, he channeled his love for burgers into becoming Serenica's most lovable mascot. Donning a giant hamburger costume and entertaining local events. As the years passed, our unlikely heroes found contentment in their newfound lives. They had escaped the zany world of Fustopia and the chaos of Hurricane Twister, discovering the simple pleasures of a quiet village. And while they occasionally reminisced about their wild adventures, they had finally found the peace and normalcy they had longed for. But little did they know that Serenica had its own quirks, hidden beneath its tranquil surface. As they say, there's always a touch of the extraordinary in even the most ordinary of places. So, perhaps another adventure was just lurking around the corner, waiting to whisk them away into a new and unexpected escapade. And so, the story of Thami, OJ, Ted, Jabba the Hutt, and the Hamburglar continued, filled with laughter, friendship, and the promise of even more extraordinary adventures to come. Mad Libs.
Over time, once they know their partners mean business, that stalking behavior decreases. When you're dealing with a terrorist,
That
once
one
they
ended
know
up
you mean
hysterical.
business, the stalking
It was a lot
increases.
funnier than I
if they're going to
expected.
stalk. So they become more, sort of aggressive in their
Well
stalking
done, you all.
behavior.
Your suggestions.
Okay. And the monopolization of perception, and actually we had that on battering. I don't think we explained it. What is it?
The monopolization of perception is a precursor to the hostage syndrome, but
What does that mean?
what?
Well, okay, you said it's a precursor to the hostage syndrome.
Well, I can kind of give an example of what it is.
Okay.
It's basically a situation where you stop having the ability to see the world through your eyes, and you see it through the eyes of the person who has more power in the relationship. So, for instance, I was working with a couple, and I usually do a basic social interview with this, and I assess for levels of power difference, because levels of power difference are very important in domestically violent relationships. And so I ask who wants to come in first. I speak to each person separately so I can hear sort of the story and the new revised edition of the story. I want to know what's going on from both people's perspective. And he said, why don't you go in first? So she came in first. And I asked her some questions. I found out that there was a 20-year age gap between the two of them, and age is power. Age has power associated with it. And I found out that she had just gotten out of med school, and he had been a doctor for a while. So she had student loans, and he had money. Money is power. He was her
And there was much rejoicing.
first sexual experience. That's sexuality is power. And he was her supervisor in med school. So there are a lot of power differences in this couple. And I like to assess for isolation. And what I mean by that is a person's ability to function in the world with other people. And so I found out from her that her friends and family still lived in the area, and she'd gone to high school and college and med school in the same area. So I asked her if her and her partner had gotten together or got together with her friends, and she said no, that they didn't. He wasn't real comfortable with that. And I understood that because of the age difference. I thought that might be not a really fun thing to do. And I said, but what about you? Do you get together with your friends? And she said, well, he's not real comfortable with that either. And I said, well, what about your family? I know you've been close to your parents. Do you get together with your parents? And she said, well, he thinks my family's kind of intrusive and he doesn't want to spend a lot of time with them. And I said, well, what about you? I know you used to go to family dinners. Do you go to your family dinners on Sunday nights? And she said, well, he's not real comfortable with that either. And I said, well, how do you know he's not comfortable with that? And she said, well, when I come home, he won't talk to me. And I said, well, for how long? And she said, well, it used to be a few hours, but now it can drag on for days, and it's really uncomfortable. And I said, well, are there other things that would make you think he's uncomfortable? And she said, well, he asked me a lot of questions. And he asks her questions that wind up being like a full-blown interrogation. And so she pulls back and she stops seeing her family. She stops seeing her friends so much. And I said to her, does it make sense to you that somebody you love doesn't want you to spend time with other people that you love? And she said, it didn't used to make sense to me, but now I look at it through his eyes. So she began to see the world through his perspective and stopped seeing it through her own. And that's what I mean by monopolization of perception.
Does that mean that she doesn't, that when people are seeing it through the perpetrator's eyes, does that mean that they tend to not blame the perpetrator for these actions? Do you know what I mean? Like, is she not getting angry with him for him not letting her go see her family and things like that because she's able to see it from a different perspective, from his perspective?
Well, she saw, in this particular case, she saw him as kind of insecure about the relationship. So she thought if she backed off and spent more time with him and gave him the things he wanted, that he would feel more secure and that they would have, then it would change. So she believed there would be a change created by this.
Okay. All right. And then we see insidious psychological abuse. What do you mean by that?
In psychological abuse, you can have more controlling behaviors. You can have things that are more subtle. You can have somebody who's putting somebody down in a really insidious way, but not directly necessarily. So you could have somebody, for instance, who you're talking about having just gotten a job. And you're really excited because you just got this job and you were hired on your first interview. And the person says, wow, they must be hiring anybody. And you say, well, that hurts my feelings. That's not what I meant. I mean, why would you say that to me? And they say, that's not what I meant. I meant you got hired so quickly. Of course, you're the best person for the job, that kind of thing. So they wind up shifting your perception a little at a time. So you start thinking, oh, I guess I misinterpreted that. So a lot of things like that. It's sort of mind control in a subtle way, which is actually how you do mind control. It's much more subtle. Okay.
And comments like that, like your example with the job, does that lead to the victim of the relationship or the woman, whichever? Does that lead to her ultimately thinking that, oh, it's the way I think? Whenever something goes wrong.
You mean, is she thinking?
This shift of perception.
Oh, the shift in perception. Okay, so what happens is you start seeing it differently and you start thinking, oh, maybe I misinterpreted it. So you start to doubt the way you see things. You start to doubt that your perception is accurate and that maybe you're misperceiving. I didn't get what you meant. So you start doubting the way you look at things.
Okay. And the well thought out threat to kill. What do you mean by that?
Well, someone who's battering may threaten to kill you or harm you in some way, but the person, or suicide, that's another threat that's very potent in relationship.
Well, hold on a second. So wait a minute. So we have a well thought out threat to kill. So do you mean that it can be a threat to kill themselves?
It can be a threat to kill themselves too.
Okay. All right, let's talk about that.
But the battering would be less well thought out. It would be more like, I'm telling you I'm going to kill myself. I'm telling you I'm going to kill you. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt somebody you love, something like that. The well thought out, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it, or I'm going to be more specific with that.
Okay. And how is that terrorism? I mean, when they're talking about killing themselves, not killing the other person, how does that relate to abuse and terrorism?
Euphemism.
If you're with somebody you love and they threaten to kill themselves, it is terrorizing to people who love
Michael
you.
Jackson has an
It's
entire
terrorizing to
song
anybody in
called
that family. It's terrorizing to children
I
in
like
that
the name
family.
Ben.
It's when
Hi,
you
Ben.
talk to families where the threats of suicide, it can control the entire family because they're so worried that could happen. And I think it's something, I see when I work with parents and they have teenagers and the teenager's acting strange and they're afraid that the teenager is going to hurt themselves.
And there's a
And the
reason why
teenager
there's
hasn't
a
even
sound
threatened
effect
it, but because a
your
parent
mom.
believes it could happen, they are terrorized by that.
Lisa!
All right, and you said it controls the family. How does it control the family?
Because your focus shifts
I'll turn the
from
teacher on at
everybody
11
else to
o'clock.
the person who's suicidal, or that you
Started
believe
watching
is
it.
suicidal,
I've
or
watched
that you
like
believe is
5 minutes.
homicidal. In a family where there's domestic violence, the focus is more often on the perpetrator from everybody in the family, because you have to be careful of that person. So your focus is much more on that person. The old saying, you oil the squeaky wheel.
Mhm.
And I think that's sort of what happens.
Okay. All right, and you talk about torturing pets. Is that something you see?
I've seen that. I haven't seen that much, partially because I think people who do things to animals are reluctant to talk about them. So there are many things that are not talked about. I actually had a young man who was a very bright graduate student at UCLA, very handsome, very just charismatic guy, who came into group one night and said, and he was crying, and he said, "I kicked my puppy to death." And it was horrible. And it was horrible for all of us.
You
And
mean
he
Jodi?
admitted to it because he said, "I need help. I have to have help." But it's very hard to talk about hurting children and about hurting or doing anything that you think is, would be considered strange. So, any kind of strange psychological abuse or that sort of thing, it's hard for people to talk about that in group. They might talk to you about it afterwards. They might talk to you about it during an intake session. Or they might wait to know you. I'm working with a young man right now who said, "Alyce, I know some things that are causing me problems, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't know you right now." And I said, "That's fine. I don't expect you to tell me things until you have some reason to trust me."
All right. Let's see. And then we have extreme isolation.
Isolation allows somebody to do mind control. And isolation can take a lot of forms. Isolation doesn't have to be as obvious as you never get to see anybody that you care about. Isolation can be that you're not talking to anybody about what's going on in your life. And that's common in domestically violent relationships, that people don't talk to other people. They don't talk to their friends. They don't talk to their family about what's going on, because they want people to like their partner. They want people to care about them. They want people to hang around with. They don't want anybody to think they have lousy taste. They care about that. So they tend to keep it to themselves. That's a form of isolation. Looking at what people write and telling them they can't write certain things or that they can't say certain things is a form of isolation. And then there are real obvious forms like taking the spark plug. I don't even know if cars have spark plugs anymore, actually, but dismantling the car.
Collective time to chuckle. I've said this before. I'm about as handy as a foot, but I know spark plugs still exist. Sam, thank you. Thank you. Oh gosh. Oh man. My favorite was our I'll put on the teacher in 1 second. Watch our favorite court reporter's face.
Say certain things is a form of isolation. And then there are real obvious forms like taking the spark plug. I don't even know if cars have spark plugs anymore, actually, but taking
His face. Hold on. Are we really? Is this really happening right now? All right. Here we go.
Kimberly, come on in here and have a seat.
Hold on. I might need
All
to.
right. So, just observing you in classroom, it looks like something's off a little bit. And so I've asked Officer Dean to come in here and visit with it. Have you taken anything that's, do you have a prescription for anything that maybe you have taken today that just seems like you're not the same person that I talked to this morning?
I did take some medication.
Can you all hear that
last
okay?
night to help me with sleep because I have some anxiety stuff, but that's I can't think of the name of it right now, but I could look it up when I get home.
Okay. So you haven't taken anything while you were at school?
No.
Okay. Now, one thing I would tell you is, for your employment, I want you to be truthful.
Okay.
And so, would you be willing to take a breathalyzer test?
If I needed to, yeah.
Okay. You don't have to, but if you're willing to do it, that helps us.
That policeman
Have you
was
taken
like,
any sort of medication today?
right.
I'm sorry, what?
Have you taken any medication today?
I did take some medication this morning for my anxiety.
What did you take this morning?
I think it's called clozapine. I'm not very good with
Did you
it.
take it here at school
I took it.
Clozapine
I took it this
doesn't-
morning.
while you were here?
Okay.
Yeah, right before I came in. Yes.
Okay.
Is that a prescription? Because you changed your story a little bit. Now
Yeah,
you
you
said
said
you
it was
took.
last night.
Yeah.
Well, I took one last night and then I took one this morning because my anxiety was really like bad
Well, that's understandable, but I just need you. So what time did you take it?
this morning.
Whenever you took it last, what time was that?
I'm not really for sure.
Bottom
Where's
line,
it at? In your car? In your
should have never
bathroom?
happened.
No, I had one. I took it in my. I put it in
I
my
hope
pocket,
she gets
and
help.
then I took it.
You put it in your pocket?
Because I didn't want to bring the whole bottle in.
You do know that if it's a narcotic, you have to have it in the bottle, right? Or you can be charged with it.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's got to be in the prescription bottle.
Yeah.
So I want you to understand that
I hope
care
this
very much
leads
about
to
you,
help.
okay, and I need to make sure you're okay. I need to make sure that you're safe, and I've got to make sure that the kids are safe. So we're just trying to help you and make sure everything's okay. Okay, because this is your demeanor, like I told you earlier, is just a lot. It's just a lot different. So if there is anything that you need to cover, please call me so that we can help you.
I mean, I am having a hard time with some depression stuff, and
Did you drink something while you were here at school?
not while I was at school
When did you drink something?
last night.
Okay. Not here at school, because it seemed that it changed. I mean, your demeanor kind of changed. Anything here at school?
I wouldn't bring it into the school.
Okay.
Are you going to blow double zeros?
I don't know.
You should know. If you hadn't drank anything, you should blow zeros. If you drank something recently, it's going to show it. Well, let's find out. You should know. Makes me think that you are not going to.
Okay, so what's going to happen?
I'm not going to do anything with you.
Well, I'm asking Mrs. Bowles.
Well, I'm just gonna be honest, Kimberly. I'm concerned about you. I have a responsibility to take care of the kids.
Right.
And it's not gonna be my decision.
It's my decision. So let's see what happens.
All right.
All right, so you're gonna blow into it like you're blowing up a balloon, okay? And you're gonna keep blowing until I tell you to stop. Till I tell you to stay. Till I tell you to stop, okay?
All right.
All right, give it just a second.
I don't know how to do this.
You're just gonna blow into it like you're blowing up a balloon as soon as I tell you to. All right, ready? Take a big deep breath. Blow, 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 blow. All right, stop. Good job. You gonna tell me the truth? How much you had to drink?
I drank last night.
There's no way you drank last night.
Well, I did drink last night.
Did you drink at school? Is what he's asking you. Tell us the truth.
I didn't drink at school.
That wouldn't blow that right there.
You blew
Within-
2 times the legal limit.
I did.
Yeah.
Here's our drink that you have. What's in this drink?
Oh no.
That's a Diet Coke.
Is there anything liquor in it?
Nope.
So if I go into the classroom, am I gonna find anything else?
Did you go to your vehicle and drink if we go out and search your car?
No.
So where did the liquor come from? Did you leave campus?
Not today.
Have you? This thing is pretty accurate.
No, I know it is.
So-
I know it is.
You blew like a 0.24.
I don't know what that means. What's
Legal limit's 0.08.
okay?
Do you drink often?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just trying to
No,
understand
no,
why.
no. I'm seeing a counselor. I'm seeing a counselor about it. So
You haven't had anything to drink today.
not since
This is the 35-minute
3
video.
a.m.
Your expert opinion, she's under the influence.
Well, I mean, you want my honest opinion? I think she's probably a functioning alcoholic.
Would she blow that
So you could and be normal and like be.
and not drink today?
Well, no, because she's had to have drank sometime today.
Like even if it was 3 a.m.
Do you want to blow one more time on a different
I don't
straw
want
to see if it changes?
No. I want y'all to tell me what I have to do.
I just want you to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the counselor for my stuff. So
Do you live here in town?
I live in Stillwater.
Do you have anybody that's there that could come pick you up?
My husband's he's still at school working.
Can I check your eyes?
Do it?
Can I check your eyes?
Yeah.
Can I stand up? I'm not going to go through the entire test, but stand with your feet by your side, hands down to your feet, side to side, heel to heel. There you go. All right. Just follow the tip of my pen. Your eyes only. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You've drank recently. Yeah, she's intoxicated.
How's he? Do you know your husband's number? If I call him?
I don't want you to call him.
Well, I can't let you leave. If you leave, you're gonna get arrested.
Yeah, I'm going to arrest you for DUI.
So I need somebody to come pick you up.
Kim.
This is a linchpin moment.
I know I've been having a hard time. am I gonna get fired? Just,
Honestly, yes. Or you can resign. You're under the influence at school with kids. That cannot happen.
Can it not just be that it's in my blood system and that's why it's,
Unless you were drank a shit ton
well,
at like 8 o'clock this morning, I don't know how you could still be that hot.
I did drink a lot last night.
How much did you drink?
I don't, too much
What do you drink?
wine.
So how many bottles of wine did you drink?
We had the box,
Did you drink a whole box of wine?
half a box.
And you stopped drinking at like 3 this morning?
Presley Johnson, please come to the
Uh,
office. Presley
The problem
Johnson.
is they said you were
Please
fine
come
this
to the
morning,
office.
and then now recently they've noticed a difference.
See, and that's weird to me. That I was okay this morning. I would think that it would be.
Which makes me think that you drank recently.
I would think. I could see like this morning, but I couldn't see like.
JP
After that.
Profit and Kaylee Richmond, please
I
come to
think you
the
drank
office.
recently,
JP
like
Profit,
probably while you
Kaylee
were at school.
Richmond, and Presley Johnson, please come to the office.
So your options are, we call somebody to pick you up, you come visit tomorrow. 2, you get.
I won't even let you get your vehicle. I'll just arrest you right now for public intox.
Please don't do that.
Then you should probably find a ride.
Can I make that happen myself?
Right now,
Do I have to do it right here?
Yes, we need to know somebody's.
Yeah.
We're not leaving. He's not going to leave here until somebody picks you up.
so either you leave in a vehicle or you leave in my vehicle, one of the two.
So who are we calling?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time.
So who do you go home to? Your husband?
Mhm.
So why can't we call your husband?
I don't want you to have to call him.
Well, he's either going to come here and pick you, or he's going to take you to the police station.
Well, I don't want that to happen either.
Well, then you got to figure this out. We're not going to do this run around. Either you make the decision or I'll make it for you and you'll be walked out of here in handcuffs.
Okay, I don't want.
Okay, then we need to call someone. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but we can't run this.
No, I know.
We don't have all day for you to make a decision.
No,
Who can
I'm
come
not.
get you?
I'm not trying to be like that.
I agree. I don't know if it's so much the
Okay,
choice.
you got 1 minute.
I think it's the
Tell me a
reality.
number we're going to call, or we're trying to let you at least have some dignity and not walk out of here in front of everybody.
No,
So if you'll let us call somebody, we'll wait. They can come wait outside. Everybody's gone. We'll tell them to be here at 4:30, and you'll be able to leave the building without anybody seeing. But if we don't have time to sit and keep doing this.
No, I understand. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be. I don't mean to be like that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. So if we call somebody to come and get me, so then what happens after that?
Then you're going to meet me tomorrow at my office, and we'll discuss your appointment.
What time tomorrow?
9 a.m.
So what happens? So what happens then, Mr. Ogle?
Well, my recommendation to the board is going to be to terminate you because you're under the influence, or you can resign.
You won't give me like a second chance or anything?
Not in this situation. Your story's changed 2 or 3 times. I don't think you're personally being honest with us.
What?
We think that you drank today. Not 3 a.m. We think that you've drank since you've been at school. And I don't believe you're being honest with us. Do you want to change that story?
No, I mean, even if I did, does that make a difference to work here?
Well, it helped me to be able to understand that maybe do I need to be sympathetic with you a little bit? I just don't believe you right now. I think you're lying to us.
Okay, I drank on the way to work.
I'm glad that you told us that. Okay. We'll still discuss tomorrow.
I went to work here. I went to work here.
Yeah. So tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Now let's call somebody and have them pick you up.
No, I can't call my husband.
Do you have anyone else you can call?
You have a friend that can come pick you up?
I don't know.
Would you rather call your husband to come pick you up, or would you rather call your husband to come get you from jail?
Well, actually, neither.
Well,
I mean,
you've got it. You're running out of time.
Okay, I'll call somebody. I'm sorry. I don't mean to waste your time or anything like that. I'm sorry.
I just want someone to come pick you up so I don't have to humiliate you by walking out.
No, I don't. No, please don't do that.
Then
Please.
let's call someone.
We need a number right now to call, or I'm done. Okay?
Okay.
So give me a number. Who am I calling?
I don't have it by heart.
Where's your phone at?
It's in the classroom. Can I go get
You
it?
can't. No.
Huh?
You can't. No.
I will let me see if I can get.
What'd you drink this morning?
I don't drink anything but wine.
Okay. Hey, can I call you back? All right, bye. So you drank wine here on the way to the school this morning?
Yeah, before I left home, I didn't drink it in the car or anything.
Okay, I'm gonna go to your room. Where is your phone?
Can I go down there with
No.
you? I don't even.
You don't know where it's at?
I think it's in my purse, but
Your purse is where?
Can I please?
No, there's kids in the hall, and there's teachers all standing here. They don't even know you're in here.
It might be on the desk. It's on the desk. I think.
Is there any alcohol or anything in the room?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay. Hey, Doug. How often do you go see a counselor?
Like once every other week.
Is it helping at all? No?
It was, and then it wasn't.
I'm not saying you're a bad person or anything. I understand people go through stuff.
It's all right.
And I'm not trying to humiliate you. I don't want to humiliate you. I understand people, there's stuff probably going on in your life I have know nothing about. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
You don't have time to hear all of my stuff.
How long have you been in teaching?
I've worked with kids my whole life.
Is this your first year to actually be a teacher?
No, I taught at Westwood and I taught at Head Start. I'm so sorry. I let everybody down. I'm sorry. You heard that on the.
I hear it all the time. Some people actually mean it though. Some people don't.
Okay, no more games, right?
Yeah.
Other than that.
My juice.
Gonna try again. That there is wine.
I thought that was from yesterday.
Are you drinking up here yesterday?
Well, I brought it from home. I was in there today, this morning. Did you get my phone?
This in here. I'm whatever you want.
Well, I mean,
Is my phone in here?
I didn't go through your bag. That's
You
you said
can.
first. I know, but my thing is,
yeah, I mean,
that's all I need.
yeah.
Did you get my phone?
You said your phone was in the purse.
Well, I thought it was on the desk, but it's okay.
Are you gonna call someone?
Well, I don't. I used to have everybody's numbers, but
You gonna get your phone and call someone?
well,
Is it not in there?
I thought it was on the desk. It's on the desk.
Being truthful goes a long ways, and you haven't done it yet. Have half a mind to arrest you just because you lied to me.
Okay, what do I need to do to make everything right?
I just wanted honesty. That's all I wanted.
I drank out of that yesterday. I didn't drink out of it today.
I don't believe you.
I drank out of that coming to work yesterday.
Well, where's the cup that you drank out of today? Is it in your classroom too?
I don't think so. Honestly, I thought I was doing a good job today. I don't know. I don't know.
Just hang out.
Okay, okay.
Go ahead.
Please. I'll call somebody. I have somebody right here in town that will
Nope.
come get me.
Too late.
Please.
What's your date of birth, Kimberly?
Please, just let me. Can we?
Hey,
work
I'm
this?
not doing it. I'm not doing it. You had your chance to be honest,
Well,
and
I did.
and then you wipe this out.
But please let me. Please let me call.
I should charge you with tampering with evidence.
Please let me.
No,
let me call.
no, it is over. No more. No more. I'm done.
Officer, please.
No.
I've never done anything wrong in my whole life.
What is your date of birth?
5/7/1970. Please let me call somebody. Please, I will call somebody right
You're
now.
thinking of body camera.
Huh? I've got a friend right here in Perkins.
No,
Please,
you're under arrest.
please don't do this.
It's too late.
No, please. I can't do this, please. Please, officer, please. No, please. Please.
Two 428.
No. Please.
20428.
Please.
You're under arrest. We're not. There's no getting out of it.
No. No, let me call. No, you said I could call somebody. I'll call somebody to come get me. Please.
It's too late.
Why is it too late all of a sudden?
Because you've lied, done nothing but lie.
Well, that's because I have a problem, obviously. But please,
20428.
no. Officer, please. I have a friend that just lives right down the street. She'll come get me. Please. Please let me just call her.
No.
You said I could call somebody.
Can you guys not hear me? I need someone to come down here and transport for me. You or Dylan. You have, okay. I don't care. Just we'll go out the back door over here, like by the playground. Yeah. All right.
Officer. Please.
No. And what really pisses me off to top it off is you wipe that out to try to cover it up. I'm 10:15 with a teacher for PI. I do. I can't get out. I can't get out, I guess. I've been asking for Dylan or Spencer to come transport for me. I'm going to have Spencer come in the back way, and I'll take her out the back way.
Oh, my God.
But she's lied, and Mr. Ogle found a cup that had wine residue in it on her desk. So, something Coates. She's a new teacher. I'm in Miss Bowles' office, but I'm trying not to totally humiliate this lady. But she's working on it because she wiped the cup out. So. Yep.
Don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Don't do anything.
Yeah, I'll take her out that way. Like out back, like by the playground.
No, please.
All right. All right. Where's your driver's license at?
I don't know.
Well, here's the deal. You're under arrest. So,
No,
hey,
officer.
we're not going to sit here and whine. That's over. Am I going to find anything illegal in here?
I don't think so.
Famous last words.
No, officer. I'm sorry. Officer Dean, please don't do this. Please.
Where's your wallet at? I have your driver's license. Is your first name Kimberly? Is that your legal first name? Is your driver's license in Oklahoma?
Yes. Please don't arrest me. Please let me just call a friend to come and get me. I'll call a friend. I'll do whatever I have to, but please don't arrest me. Please.
Hello.
Please don't do this. Please don't.
Hello. 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 Okay, I'll be back in just a second. Okay. All right, here's the deal.
No.
Stand up. You are under arrest. I'm going to place handcuffs on the front of you. In front of you.
No.
Spencer, you're going to come. You might have to come in here.
I'll go back.
Maybe.
No.
No, I'm in Miss Bowles' office. Can you let them in? Mr. Ogle's going to come let you in. Yeah, out back. All right.
No.
Stand up. Stand up.
Can you just?
No, I said I'm done.
No, just no. Can I just walk out without the handcuffs
No.
on? No, please just let me walk out.
No, it's policy.
I'm not gonna. I'm not.
I'm going to cuff you up front. If you're going to keep running your mouth, you're going to get cuffed behind you.
Wait, can I just talk to you for a second? Please. Please don't.
Put your hands behind your back.
No, I don't want to.
You want to go to jail with
No.
multiple charges?
No.
Put your hands behind your back.
Please don't do this. Please, I just want to talk to you. Can you just talk to me?
Put your hands behind your back.
Please, will you just please talk to me?
I've tried talking to you.
Well, you're not talking to me now.
Talking's over.
Well, what about my stuff?
It'll go with you to the jail.
Okay, officer, please.
Quit. I'm done. I tried to be nice. I'm done.
Okay. Can I just please?
No.
Can I just ask you a question?
Nope. Questions are over.
Why?
Is this your phone?
Yes. What made you so mad at me? What made you so mad? What made you so mad? I don't want to. Please don't do this to me. Please don't let go out in front of everybody. Please.
I'm trying not to.
Can we just go in there for just a second, please? I'm sorry.
Stop pulling away from me.
I don't mean to pull away. I'm just. I'm really not.
I'm not saying you are.
Please. Can't we just.
No, talking's over.
Please.
You've done nothing but lie and not listen.
No. Can't you just give me another chance?
No. Another chance is over.
Please, 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 please.
Let's go. Grab that cup.
Want to go out the front?
No. Please don't. Please don't have me go out the
You
front.
go right this way and then go around back to the cafeteria. Is that where you
just
are?
where, yeah.
I do need her keys to the building, if we know where those are.
There's some keys in here. I'll come back and get that cup. I got to write her a ticket soon. Yeah, there's some keys.
You want to go to the?
Where are you at?
I'm right off the
Please
cafeteria.
don't let me see it. I don't want.
Hey, it's over. You had your chance. You've done nothing but lie, and then you wipe the cup out to try to hide your evidence.
We're not going to go in front of the kids, are we?
At this point, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Why does it matter?
You didn't care when you came to school drunk or drank at school.
I didn't drink at school. I told you I drank.
Well, you had a cup of wine
That was
in
from
it
the-
on your desk in your classroom.
Yesterday.
Is that what you came in? I don't have keys.
You came in this double one, didn't you? Well, no, we came in this one right here.
Here.
Juror, County. Can you show me 1015?
Thank you for taking me around this way.
Go this way. He's gonna look in her bag. There's some keys in her bag. I just don't know if it's her school keys.
That's
Do you have anything in your pockets?
There's my ID and
Is that the school keys?
That's to my classroom.
Hey, Mr. Ogle. What is that? What is that? Vitamin?
Oh, that's my fish.
Hang on. I'm gonna check this back seat real quick. Stand right here.
What are you looking for?
We put that in her bag. It was in her pockets. Fish. Can we give that to Mr. Ogle?
Is that a school key? Are
Yeah.
there any school keys on this?
No, that's my Airbnb.
That's all. Have a seat. Hey, Spencer, if I write a ticket, can you run it back up there here in a little bit? You were doing? Okay.
District.
Oh, you want me to do it district?
District.
Okay. Never mind. I'm gonna do it district.
I won't
Oh.
trust myself.
Holy cow. That was a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. I love this community. I've been kind of seeing some of the stories you all have been sharing. They're extremely moving for those of you who have struggled and have come out on top working through that. Well done. And you know, I hope this didn't do any I hope watching this didn't do any harm. Just know that I appreciate you. I think for me, I respect your history. Anybody who's gone through something like that, or even if it doesn't involve law enforcement, who I know you all as today, y'all are awesome. And if those moments that y'all were saying rock bottom, got you to being proud of who you are today, ultimately, well, doggone it. It's not really up for me to say I'm proud of you, but I'm just grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you overcame. I'm grateful that you're still fighting. I'm grateful that you're you. And I'm grateful that we have this entire crew that is so supportive. So I really appreciate you being here as who you are. So just know that I accept you for you and who you are today. Yes. Yes. And again, and I've seen a lot of people offering, my DMs are always open. Always. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Even if it's treating me like one massive human-sized ear. So I'm here. You guys are great. I don't know if I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I want to get back into the trial tonight. Um, I think that we hit a point where I've I think we've hit the week. I think we've hit the end of the week. um, I appreciate you all. Boy, that took a left turn, didn't it? It took a left turn. Obviously very impacted by it. Yes, let's do that. Before we close, let's say something we're proud of. I want to hear something. Here we go. This is what I want to hear. I want to hear one word quality that you love about yourself. I want to hear a one word quality that that you love about yourself. You know, they say in radio that dead air is a bad thing. I would submit that sometimes silence is the loudest of all. I want you all to take those words and those qualities into the weekend. I want you all to live your best lives. I didn't forget Amos, thank you. Thank you very much. This is the exact reason why I love this community so very much. So, and with that, I say, court is adjourned. Please take care of yourself. Take care of your friends and family. Do not forget to smile. As Pantoufle says, don't let anybody dull your sparkle. And shine on. Shine on, you crazy diamonds. I'll see you all on Monday. Good night, everybody.